Good afternoon, and welcome to our Friday Lunch and Learn. Now, I put it out there that I would answer your questions, but it appears that very few people have questions. I've gotten a couple. One was actually posted on Facebook, and then we've got some from behind the scenes. So just kind of want to give this time to you. I've got my big screen up so I can see if any questions come up. I'm going to make sure that it's going, because sometimes on my phone I don't see the questions. So I'm going to see. We're going to do this. Yes. Okay, so we're going to see if we get comments or not. All right. So we've been talking about COVID, and it's just all over the place. It's all over the news, and so there's just a lot of misinformation out there. So I've been really trying to work with you guys and give you information so that you could separate the sense from the nonsense, because oh my goodness, critical thinking skills are so important today, and they are so lacking in a lot of what we're hearing and seeing. And so I just kind of wanted to open up and let you guys ask questions if you want to. We put it up last night, and like I say, we had one who asked questions on the Facebook page. So I'm watching the screen. So if anybody does want to ask a question, you're more than welcome to do that. Hopefully I see it. You know, sometimes I see the question, sometimes I don't until after the broadcast is over. One of the questions that Mariala posted was, why does she have lingering back pain, and why is she still losing her hair after COVID recovery? Well, you know, that's a really, really hard question. Everybody's body responds differently. So it depends on what kind of medication you took, how sick you were, how long you were sick, what the state of your body was in before you got sick, all those kind of things. So there's really not a pat answer for that. I wish I could tell you, oh, this is real easy, do this, that, and the other, and you'll be fine. If you did have COVID, then you probably have some immune compromise, because that's how you get a virus, is that your immune system is not strong enough to compensate for whatever you're coming in contact with. So I would ask you to look at your immune system. I would ask you to look at maybe your potassium is down. If your back hurts, if it's a muscle pain, which is probably what it is, then it's probably because you're low on magnesium. You could be low on potassium. You could be low on calcium, all of those kind of things. You might want to look at how your endocrine system is functioning with losing your hair. Anytime you have a respiratory virus, it is a stressful situation. If you were in the hospital, it's even more stressful. When you are in a stressful situation, you are going to lose your hair. So I would ask you to do a lot of self-care. I would ask you to maybe get some blood work done, see what your labs say about your TSH, see if you need to nourish your thyroid, see if you need to nourish your adrenals, all that kind of thing. So there's a lot that goes into recovering from a sickness and disease. And so I know that probably wasn't a 1, 2, 3, do this, that, and the other, and you'll be well, because I can't do that, because everybody is an individual, okay? I do want to talk to you about some different things. I'm going to be watching to see if we have some more questions that come up. But one of the things, there's a brand new report put out by the World Health Organization, okay? They have dropped the death rate of all of the people infected by the coronavirus. They have dropped the death rate to 0.13%. Okay, this was October the 5th that this article came out, okay? 0.13%. So that's not a very high death rate. The whole country has been shut down for 0.13%. Now, I definitely understand if your family member has been in that 0.13%, then that's a big deal for you, and every life is precious, every person is precious, every death is something that we do not want to see. But I think it's a little overkill to shut down the whole world for a virus that has a 99 0.9% chance of recovery. So this is what we want to know. We want to know what the truth is here, because if you keep listening to the media, if you keep listening to, we live in Harris County, so if you listen to the county judge, she says that we are still on red alert. Now, as I talked to you last week, red alert means that we have more and more and more cases, and that's just not the truth. Cases are falling, and the virus is becoming less virulent, is becoming less deadly. So I think I've got some statistics here that I'm going to read to you and give you some perspective here. So in the very, very beginning of the pandemic, they recommended, or they suggested, that the death rate from this virus would be 3.4%, okay, which is quite a significant increase over 0.13%, okay? So when we didn't know anything back in February, March, when we didn't know anything, everybody agreed that we needed to, stay home, stay safe, shut down, flatten the curve. Everybody believed that that was the right thing to do. As we are now 6 months into this, different level-headed people are hopefully going to prevail, and so we can see what's going to happen here. It says there's a university in Michigan, Wayne State University in Michigan, found that COVID-19 severity may be fading as the death rate falls. In August, a New York Times found that an analysis of the data, up to 90% of the people testing positive barely carried any virus. We talked about that last week. The Times reporter summarized her story on Twitter. New. All these months into the pandemic, we may have been testing the wrong way. Data from some labs suggests that up to 90% of people who got a positive test are no longer contagious and don't need to isolate. Last month, the Center for Disease Control issued new estimates that showed people under 50 years of age, okay, that get COVID-19 have a nearly 100% survival rate. It broke down to a 99.997% survival rate if you are 0 to 19 years old, 99.98% for ages 20 through 49, 99.5% if you're 50 to 69, and then 94.6% for those over 70. So that's really, really important. Now, they found, and we've been talking about this comorbidity, right? And I'm bringing you these are the newest statistics. We've talked about this. Obviously, y'all are tired of talking about this because nobody's talking to me. But the statistics show that of those who died of the coronavirus, they had an average of 2.6 comorbidities, meaning they had more than 2 chronic diseases along with COVID-19. Okay, so it wasn't the COVID-19 that killed them. They had 2.6, okay, other chronic diseases. So overall, the CDC says that just 6% of the people counted as COVID-19 deaths died of COVID-19 alone. Now that's really, really important, because what you hear on the media all over, we heard it in the debate, we heard it in the vice presidential debate of over 200,000, I think she said 210,000 people have died of COVID, and that's just not true, okay? Only 6% of that number died from COVID. All the rest of the people died from these other comorbidities or these other chronic diseases, right? Does that make sense? So these are the kind of things that we want to make sure that you understand, because so many people are so frightened, okay? I have a lady who comes and sees me, and she's in her 80s, and her kids, one of her kids is a doctor. He's married to a doctor, and the doctor is saying, you can't go out, you're too old, you're too sick. She doesn't have any comorbidities. She doesn't have any issues going on. She's lonely, and she is depressed, and she is getting sicker because she's isolated. Okay, so you need to understand, when the news throws around, okay, we have over 210,000 deaths related to COVID. That's not true. We do have over 210,000 deaths, but they're not related. They're not all caused because of COVID. 60% of Americans have a chronic disease. I had 2 people in my office today. Both of them have autoimmune diseases. An autoimmune disease is a chronic disease. If you have a chronic disease, then you need to stay home. You need to stay protected. You need to stay well, because you are not going to mount a really, really good immune response. Lisa says, I wish our governor could see this. Well, I will just tell you, Lisa, a few weeks ago, we had about 3 people that sent the governor my video. So I don't know if he's listening, but people are getting the message to him. So I do appreciate the shares. Facebook likes it when you share, and it gets us higher up in the ratings, and people see more of our stuff when you do share. I appreciate the shares, so thank you very much. Someone even shared our program last week with Rush Limbaugh. So, I mean, nothing's come out of that, but I just think it's interesting, all the different ways that people are sharing, trying to get the message out. So Michelle says, so why are they still giving that number of over 200,000 deaths from COVID? Well, we do know why. It suits the political narrative. What did we hear all through the debate on Wednesday night? We heard that the Trump administration had failed miserably at controlling the coronavirus. Well, I would like to see somebody else do something better. I mean, we don't know. You can't put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And so, it really suits the political narrative to have something to talk about in a negative way. And so that's why they do it. But I want you to know that if you are sick, if you have a comorbidity, if you have a chronic disease, then you need to stay home. If you do not have a chronic disease, then it's really better for you to resume your life and all that entails, because you're going to be enhancing your own immune system and the immune system of everybody else as well. Okay. This scientist, and I'm going to mess up his name, so I'm not even going to try. He says, what is being amplified in the testing is something that is not going to pose a risk to you or to others. He said, it is not a false positive in the technical sense, but in a functional sense, it is a false positive. And that's what we talked about last week, about the cycle threshold being 40 and 45. It's going to catch even the dead virus. And so it's going to have, I think they said 85 to 90% of the people that test positive would not test positive if that cycle threshold was reduced down to 30 or 35. Now, I did hear from 3 epidemiologists, virologists. Okay, these are scientists who their job is to protect people from viruses. One of them was for Stanford University, one of them was from Harvard University, and one of them was from Oxford University. And they were very explicit in their stance. They said that there was no reason to have a shutdown, that the economic shutdown was hurting more people. It was harming more immune systems than going out and about in your business. He said, or they said, there were two gentlemen and a lady. They all said that if you are immune compromised, you need to stay home, you need to take protection. But that if the society, the worldwide society, would open back up and people would go about their own daily business, we would go back to sporting events, we would go back to cultural events, we would go back to school, university, we'd all go back to work, that we would have herd immunity in 3 months. Now, understand that we've been fighting this crisis for what? For 6 months, since February, right? These very, very learned scientists said that if we would just protect the vulnerable and let the healthy people go on about their daily business, that within 3 months there would be herd immunity, and that herd immunity would benefit the vulnerable people as well. And, this is what we learned in school. We learned about herd immunity. When I was a little girl, okay, I was born in the 50s, and I remember people would, we would get the chicken pox, and people would call and have a party, and they'd bring all the kids together so they would all get chicken pox at the same time. So they would just go throughout their childhood. We would all get together. We'd all get whatever we got. Then we had immunity. And so that's the way it used to be. Herd immunity is not some new idea. Now, I've got plenty of podcasts. I've got plenty of information that I've already prepared years ago on how vaccinations do not elicit herd immunity, okay? So I'm not in favor of that. The vaccine people will tell you that if enough people get the vaccine, that they are going to get herd immunity. But you just have to look at the statistics, the most recent statistics in the past 4 or 5 years, that with all the measles outbreaks and all that kind of stuff, all of those people that got the measles were immunized against the measles. So vaccines do not give you herd immunity. What gives you herd immunity is the live virus, right? It infects enough people that the population just doesn't bother them anymore, okay? So that's a good thing, and that's what we want. So these epidemiologists reiterated, and I don't want to say the ancient knowledge because I don't feel like I'm that ancient, okay? But they reiterated the herd immunity. If we just all went about our business, in 3 months, this would all go away. It would not be a big deal, and we could, go on with life as normal. Now, here in the state of Texas, the governor has decided that next week we can open up the bars. Now, I don't necessarily go to the bar, so I'm not saying, oh, yay, I want to go out to the bars. I'm not saying that. My perspective is the bars are owned by small business people, okay? Their livelihood, I'm concerned about the livelihood, right, of these people. And our own county judge is saying, no, we're still at code red. We're not opening up the bars. We're not expanding. And I'm really a little bit disappointed that the governor gave the judges the right to overrule what he says as the governor, because I know in our county, and there's another county I read about, I think it was up in the Dallas area. I'm not sure what county it was, but there was a judge that said he didn't care what the governor said. They were not going to let the bars reopen. But if they did open, they had to close by 11 o'clock, or he was going to make sure they were shut down for a long time. Well, that's just not a nasty attitude, People need to go out. They need to go and have their dinner. They need to go to the movies. They need to go to the symphony. They need to go to the sporting events. They need to go to church. They need to go to school. They need to go to university. They need to go all the places that we used to go. Why? Because we come together, we exchange our air. I'm breathing on you, you're breathing on me, and our immune system is coming to terms with what's going on. That is what creates herd immunity, and that's what we need to get over this COVID. Still not having any questions, so I'm going to keep talking, okay? So the other big thing in the news this week was I've seen a lot of hateful posts from Christians. And I just want to say, if you're a Christian and you're posting hateful things, then I really have to wonder if Jesus is in your heart, okay? I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that are going on out there that are bad, but we don't have to do things with a hateful heart. The president, of course, we all know last week was tested positive for COVID-19. One of the drugs they gave him was a drug called Regeneron. Now, there are a lot of hateful posts out there that say, oh, he and the Republican Party are just, they're just liars and they're cheats, because this drug is made out of embryonic fetal cells. They're made from aborted fetal cells, which the Republican Party and President Trump in particular has said they want to stop all use of embryonic fetal cells. And I'm in agreement with that, okay? I'm not in agreement with people pushing hate speech and dogging on the government when they're not really paying attention to what's going on. Now, I did look up this drug. I did look up how it was made and what it was made. It's very scientific. It is a antibody. It's synthetic. It's concocted in the lab. Okay, so it's genetically modified, and it is a Y-shaped protein. This arm of the Y catches this bug, and this arm of the Y catches the corona, whatever it is. Anyway, it is a therapeutic that goes into the body that latches onto the coronavirus so the coronavirus cannot replicate. Now, I spent some time looking up this drug. It is not fetal cell, okay? There's a difference between aborted fetal cell and embryonic stem cell, okay? Embryonic stem cell, and I've done a lot of research on this, okay? Embryonic stem cell is a mom goes into the hospital. She is a clean person. She's been tested. She's gone through all this rigorous testing. She's decided that she wants to donate the umbilical cord, that she wants to donate the placenta, the umbilical cord. The doctors are going to take from the umbilical cord the stem cells to use for research, to use for all kinds of medical things. So this is not abortion at all. The baby is born through a C-section. It is a planned C-section. Immediately that baby comes out, that stem cell goes, I think it goes in a cryogenic tube, so it's immediately frozen. So if you're going to do stem cell therapy, right? Stem cell therapy is a regenerative therapy. We have stem cells in our own body. When you're a little child, you've got tons of stem cells, you're falling over, you're cutting yourself, you're healing. As you get older, you don't heal so fast. Why is that? Because the number of stem cells as you get older reduces more and more. So there are some new therapies that are amazing where you can take your own stem cells out of your own blood, right? I think they puncture your bone. They pull your own stem cells out, they spin them in a centrifuge, they inject them back into you, and they're supposed to help you. Well, I think that might have some benefit, but those stem cells are however many days old you are. If you get umbilical stem cells, they are 0 days old. So if I'm going to have stem cell therapy, I'm going to get 0-day-old stem cells. Why is that? Because they're brand new. They can differentiate into what body part I need. They're not from an aborted fetal cell. This particular drug, Regeneron, is from embryonic stem cells. So it is not of a aborted baby, okay? It's not about that. So people are just being ugly. People are just wanting to, I don't know what they're doing. You know, if you don't have a medical degree, you don't have a medical background, you don't research medical things, then you're not going to know. And I'm not saying you're not smart enough. That's not what I'm saying. You can go and research this yourself. Look at it yourself. Don't just take what somebody says, because people are just being ugly, okay? And we don't want to be ugly. Somebody says, okay, I saw it on my phone, but I didn't see it here. Thank you for clearing this up. I had someone post about this. Let me see. This morning, and without being educated. Yes, well, and that's the thing, you know, you have to educate yourself. I spent time yesterday, I spent a lot of time, because I have a friend of mine, she's a naturopath, and her husband posted something really nasty. And somebody said, look, it's a New York Times that wrote this. You don't really want to necessarily believe the New York Times. And I went to this drug company's website. I read that they get these cells, some of the cells that they make this drug from, they take it from genetically modified mice. Now, don't ask me how this works, because I do not know, okay? I do not know. I don't want to know. That's not the lane I'm in. But they have genetically modified mice that produce human stem cells. I don't know how that works, but those are the cells that this particular company uses. So there is some information out there about the HEK-293T cells, okay? So these are aborted fetal cells from 1970. Okay, abortion wasn't even legal in this country until 1973. This did not come from our country. This cell line did come from it was an abortion. I mean, it was a planned thing. It was in the Netherlands, I think it was. The cells that you have now are derived from that line. That cell line is immortal. Okay, I don't know how that works. I don't know how they got it to be that way, but they're not using aborted baby cells today. Okay, you need to know that. In fact, I have, this is from the Regeneron spokeswoman. She says, she told the Technology Review, she said, the 293 T cell lines available today are not considered fetal tissues, and we did not otherwise use fetal tissue. So make sure you educate yourself from the horse's mouth, okay? This is a company that they're fact checkers that are there. There are people that come in and they audit the company. They check what they're doing. They have no reason to lie. Okay, this cocktail. I think they said. I read it somewhere. I mean, it's $10,000 or more to get this particular cocktail if you have COVID. I understand somebody said the president said it was going to be free. I don't know. I wish. I mean, I just wish it would be free because then everybody could get well. But make sure when you are looking at things on the internet, you do it from an educated view. Do I have any more questions? I do not have any more questions. Okay, last thing I want to leave you with today. 200,000, more or less, COVID deaths, okay? The daily death rate from abortion is 2,363. Okay, so get out your little calculator and multiply that out. How many days would it take to get to 200,000? Okay, people are really, we really need to be truthful, right? If I'm worried about death rates, I need to worry about all death rates. If I'm worried about pro-life, I need to worry about all pro-life. I need to be consistent, okay? So there are no more questions, and my time is just about over. So thank you for joining me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there is anything else that you need to know here. But please don't foster the hate speech. Please do your research. If you want to know if something is true, ask me. I'll research it and I'll let you know what I find, okay? I don't have a dog in the race. I don't have COVID. Nobody I know has COVID. Not planning on getting COVID, okay? And if I do, my success rate of overcoming this is 99.5%. So guess what? I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I'm going to take the advice, and I hope our governor and I hope our county judge will listen to this. Open up the state. If the state were opened within 3 months, we would have herd immunity. We could all go back to living life the way we need to live our life, enjoying our family, enjoying our church, enjoying our culture, and all that kind of thing. So if you have any questions, let me know. It's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Be good to yourself. Have a lot of self-care. Okay, what does that mean? That means take care of yourself, whatever that means. If it's go have a pedicure, go to the beach, take yourself out to dinner, that kind of thing. Do something good for yourself. Monday's coming, another work week. All right, take care of yourself while you can. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it.